There's a train station on the edge of the city that doesn't show up on any map. No signs, no passengers, no staff. Just a single platform, always lit. People say if you find it after midnight, you'll hear the train coming. A train that hasn't run for over 50 years. And if you step on board, it won't take you home. It was just after midnight when Daniel Cross, a night shift security guard, got the call a maintenance alarm had triggered in an old subway tunnel. One that hadn't been used since the eerie 1970s. Daniel was new to the job. He didn't know the stories. He just followed the instructions, check the southbound line, reset the power, log the report. Simple. But when he reached the lower platform, Platform 13B, the lights were still on, flickering, buzzing, and a single train car stood waiting. Daniel called dispatch. No answer. He walked alongside the train, tapping the windows with his flashlight. Dust everywhere. Seats covered in decades of grime. But halfway down the car, a face looked back at him from inside. It was a woman, pale, still, eyes wide open. She didn't move when he knocked, didn't blink, didn't breathe. Daniel ran to the train door. Locked. He pulled harder. And it slid open by itself. The air inside was freezing. The woman was gone. Only her coat remained, folded neatly on the seat, and a ticket, with his name printed on it. Next stop, Hollowgate. The voice echoed through the tunnel, don't old, distorted, but every word clear. There hadn't been an announcement system down here in decades. Daniel looked at the platform clock. Frozen at 12:47 a.m., the same minute the accident happened, 50 years ago. He remembered the story. A subway fire, dozens killed when the train derailed and burned. They sealed the line after that, but the rumors said the passengers never left. And tonight, the train was moving again. Before Daniel could react, the doors shut. The engine roared to life. The lights outside went black, stumbled into the conductor's cabin, empty. But the controls were moving, levers shifting on their own, the speed dial climbing. Then he saw them. Through the reflection on the glass, dozens of passengers sitting quietly behind. Him, all staring forward. Silent, there, faces pale burned, mouths open like they were still. Screaming, the train stopped, inside a tunnel with no exit. Daniel opened the cabin door and saw a man waiting on the platform. Black uniform, conductor's hat, face covered in soot. Conductor, you're late, Mr. Cross. Daniel froze. He'd never told anyone his last name. Daniel, who are you? Conductor, the one who drives them home. He handed Daniel a rusted pocket watch. Its hand stuck at 12:47. When the time comes, you'll take my place. The lights flickered, and the conductor vanished. The train started again, this time heading straight into darkness. Daniel ran through the cars. The passengers were gone now, just burned seats and ashes. At the very back, a broken mirror reflected the tunnel behind him. And in it, his uniform was different. Black charred, conductor's hat on his head. His radio crackled. A voice came through. Security dispatch calling 13B. Daniel, do you copy? He raised the radio, but the voice that answered wasn't his. Train arriving at Hollowgate. When the next shift arrived that morning, they found Daniel's flashlight and jacket on the platform. The maintenance tunnel was empty. The security footage showed only one frame. A train pulling in at 12:47 a.m. and leaving with one passenger aboard. No record of it ever returning. But sometimes, when the city is quiet and the fog hangs low, people near the old subway say they can still hear the announcement, "Now boarding, platform 13B." And if you're unlucky enough to see that train pass by, don't wave, because the conductor might wave back. I used to work the night shift at a small roadside motel off Route 47, the kind of place nobody stops at unless they're desperate. Most nights were quiet, drunks, truckers, the occasional couple hiding from someone. But there's one night I can't forget, the night that made me quit, the night something checked into room 103, and I swear to you, what I saw wasn't human. It was a Wednesday. I remember because it was pouring and the phone lines kept cutting out. Only 3 rooms were occupied that night. Around 2:17 a.m., the front desk phone rang. "There's someone in my room." I checked the register, room 103, but 103 hadn't been rented out. It was supposed to be vacant. Me: "Ma'am, are you sure you're in 103? That room's not booked tonight." Voiceover: "No, he's standing at the window." Then the line went dead. I grabbed the spare keys and flashlight, walked down the hall. Every step echoed. When I reached 103, the door was closed, but the light inside was on. I knocked. No answer. Knocked again. Harder. Me: "Motel management. You all right in there?" Nothing. I used the key. The room was freezing cold. Colder than outside. The TV was on static. Volume low. There was a wet trail across the carpet, leading from the bathroom to the window, and the window was open. The curtains fluttered. Though the rain wasn't falling in, it was still like the air itself didn't move. On the bed lay a motel key. Room 103. I locked the window, turned off the TV, and went back to the office. The security cameras covered every door, every lot light, so I rewound the footage for the past hour. At 2:16 a.m., the screen flickered, and I saw the door to 103 open by itself. Then a man walked in. No, not walked. He glided, like his feet never touched the ground. He stood in front of the window for exactly 1 minute, then vanished. I paused the video and zoomed in. The man's face was turned towards the camera. Pale, mouth open, eyes completely black, and something was wrong with the timestamp. It didn't say 2:16 a.m. It said 2:16 a.m. February 14th, 1997. Almost 26 years ago. I went through the old check-in books we kept in the back office, and there it was. February 14th, 1997. Room 103. Registered guest. Daniel Reeves. Check-in time, 11:23 p.m. Check-out. Never. According to the note beside his name, he'd gone missing. Police found his car in the lot 3 days later. Room empty. Window open, TV on static. Same as tonight. Then the phone rang again. Me. Front desk. Voice. Male. Calm, familiar. "You should have left the window open." Click. I grabbed my flashlight and went back to 103. Stupid. I know, but I had to see for myself. The lights were off now. I pushed the door open and saw my reflection in the TV screen, except I wasn't moving. My reflection was standing behind me. I turned around. Nothing. But when I looked back, the TV was showing something new, a grainy recording of me, right there, standing in room 103. Then the camera angle changed, showing the door slowly closing from the outside. And that's when I realized the real me was inside the room, but the reflection was outside, watching. The next thing I remember is waking up at dawn behind the front desk. Room 103's key was gone. The door locked from the inside. The police came later. They broke in. Room was empty. Window. Wide open TV on static. They said I must have imagined it. Stress. Sleep deprivation. But when I checked the footage one last time before quitting, there were two versions of me walking past the hallway camera. One holding a flashlight, the other just behind smiling. They say every motel has one room that shouldn't be rented out. One room where something terrible happened and never left. If you ever stay in a roadside motel and the clerk says, "Avoid that one," do yourself a favor, listen, because sometimes the room isn't empty, it's just waiting. When you work as a ranger in the middle of nowhere, you get used to strange things. Animal noises, lost hikers, weird stories from locals. But this was different. It started the night we saw the light in cabin 12, a cabin that had been abandoned for over 20 years. I've worked the Everpine National Forest for 5 years. It's a quiet stretch of land, 40 miles of trees, trails, and old ranger outposts. We keep a small log of incidents. Lost tourists, minor fires, that kind of thing. But every ranger knows there's one place we don't patrol after dark. The old Everpine Lake cabins. They were shut down in 1999 after a fire took half the camp. No one was hurt, at least that's what the file said. But 2 rangers back then went missing. Their last radio transmission was, "We can see a light," in cabin 12. After that, static. It was early November. Quiet season. Just me and another ranger, Lewis, covering the weekend shift. Around 1:02 a.m., I saw something strange from the observation tower. A single light glowing deep in the forest where the cabins used to be. At first, I thought it was a campfire, but it was too steady. Bright white, almost electric, like a lantern or a bulb. "Lewis, you seeing this too?" I did. Cabin 12. No power lines for miles. No way that light should be on. We drove down the old dirt path toward the lake. The fog was thick, headlights barely cutting through. As we got closer, the air felt heavier, like the forest was holding its breath. The cabins appeared one by one, broken, blackened, covered in vines, all except one. Cabin 12. Its door was shut. Its window glowed with warm yellow light. We parked the jeep and stepped out. The ground was cold. Frost forming in patterns, almost like veins. Lewis tried the radio. Dead. When we pushed open the door, the light flickered, coming from an old oil lamp sitting on the table. The air smelled like smoke and rain. Everything was covered in dust, except 2 chairs, and one still had a ranger's uniform draped over it. The name tag read, W. Daniels. One of the men who vanished in 1999. On the wall above the fireplace, scratched into the wood. "We never left." Lewis turned toward me, pale as a ghost. "Lewis, we need to go. The radio in my jacket crackled. Cabin 12 responding. "You took too long." It wasn't Lewis's voice. We bolted for the door, but it slammed shut. I pulled, kicked, nothing. The lamplight went out, plunging the cabin into pitch black. Then, footsteps, heavy, slow, dragging, coming from the hallway that shouldn't exist, because Cabin 12 only had one room. Lewis shone his flashlight, and the beam lit a figure standing in the doorway. A man in a ranger uniform. Face grey, eyes empty, water dripping from his sleeves. Lewis, shaking. "Who are you?" The figure tilted its head. Figure. Hoarse whisper. "You replaced us." We managed to break the window and crawl out. The second my feet hit the ground, the cabin light went out, like someone flipped a switch. By the time we reached the Jeep, the radio came back to life. Dispatch calling in, "Ranger Lewis, Ranger Cross, are you two still at Cabin 12? We've got a heat signature there. 2 bodies inside." Lewis and I froze. We looked back. And saw the cabin light flicker on again. 2 silhouettes visible through the window. Both looked like us. When we got back to base, the supervisor was waiting. They'd found footprints leading out of Cabin 12 that matched ours, but they stopped halfway down the trail. After that, nothing. The next morning, Lewis didn't show up. His car was still in the lot, his uniform gone. The official report said, "Ranger Lewis last seen entering Cabin 12. No evidence of foul play." But I know what I saw. Every night since then, at exactly 1 a.m., my radio turns on by itself, and a voice whispers, "Cabin 12 is lit. If you ever visit the Everpine Woods and see a light in the distance, don't go toward it, because some cabins were never meant to be found again."